Okay. So the recording has started. So this is welcome to the NPTEL session for week 4 in C programming, and we will be today mainly talking about if-else statement and flow of logic in today's session, and we'll be going through the past year's assignment. Both this includes MCQ questions as well as coding assignments, which we'll be covering, and I'll also share my screen, and we will be coding and also showing some little mathematical statements. They will also come up, and how operator precedence, which we also talked about last week. I'll be brushing up a little bit on that as well. And let's see how the session goes. And please feel free to interrupt me whenever you wish. And whenever you have any doubt, I'll be happy to answer your questions. Okay, so I'll start by sharing my screen. So let me do that. Okay, I hope you all can share my screen, see my shared screen. So please check if you can see the shared screen and just confirm me once. Then I'll just go ahead with the course today. Can you all see my screen? Any one of you, please confirm. Okay, great. Then let me start by here. Let me put this somewhere here so that it's easy to see. Okay. Okay, so I'll first start with the MCQ questions, and then we can proceed to coding assignments after this, right? So let's start with the first question. As I was saying that this week, we are mainly focusing on the if-else statement and also related stuffs in the context of C programming language. And let's go ahead with the first question then. So what is the purpose of the if-else statement in C? So to execute a block of code repeatedly, no, that's not true. If you have some repetitive job, you use the some repetitive part of the code which you want to do it over and over. You either use uh, some kind of a while loop or a for loop for this, but certainly not an if-else statement. So this is not true. To declare variables and constants, I think this is also pretty evident to you that this is not the right answer. And to test a condition and execute different parts of the code based on the result, this is exactly what an if-else statement does. And to perform numerical mathematical calculations, this if-else statement directly doesn't perform any numerical or mathematical calculations, but it decides on some conditions that you do. So the right answer to this question is C, where you have a if-else statement, and with that you want to test a condition, and depending upon what the test gives you, you do some work or execute a piece of the code, right? So our right answer is C. Okay. So, and also, like, I just want to highlight that for some reason, it's a bit difficult for me to see the chat continuously, although I will be checking it repeatedly. But if you ask any questions and you do not see that I'm answering it right away, that is probably because I'm not looking at the chat, and because it's a bit difficult for me, as I was saying, with so many windows open. So please unmute yourself and ask questions whenever you wish. Okay. Right. Let's go to question 2. What is the correct syntax of an if-else statement in C? So here you see there are a bunch of different if-else statements. So the way this works is, let me show like how it would work is you start with a if statement and you have a condition in here, right? And once this condition, depending upon whether this condition is true or false, whatever you have in here, you have a block where you do some true condition thing. So in this block, whatever you have when the conditions are true, this is what you do, right? While when the condition is false, then you have an else statement in here. So this is like a false condition, right? So this is the general syntax. So here you do the statement. These statements are going to get evaluated whenever you have a false condition. Okay. So this is the general syntax of of an if else statement. You can also have like an else if thing. So if you have multiple conditions, then you will have something like this. So we'll come to this as well, right? So now let's go back to the question that was there in here. Okay, let's see. Here it is, right? So here you see that there is a if condition, and it says that if you have a condition, as I was saying in this screen, that if you have the if condition, then you have the true, and if you have else, then you have the false. So the right statement for this is statement C, that if condition, then you do a statement 1, else you do a statement 2. So I hope this is clear. Then is not as syntax in C, so this is not certainly not true. And the condition has to be within two parentheses. So the first statement is also not true. So the correct statement here is the statement C. Okay. So now let's go to the third question. Which of the following is true about nested if-else statements? So they are not allowed in C. So certainly this is not true. You can have nested if-else statements. So yeah, this is not the right answer. The else part is mandatory for any if statement. So no, this is not true. You can leave out the else part. This is not up to you whether you want to put in the else part or not. So the else part is not mandatory, as uh, stated in here. So we'll so you know that this is not the right statement. So then the third option is they allow you to test multiple conditions and execute different blocks of code based on the results. Okay, so this is the right answer. So this is it. Then nested if else statement. So in C, there is no limit to how much you can nest. So within an if else statement, you can have several other if else statement, and this can go as long as you wish. So there is no uh, condition a priori on C as how deep in the level of nesting that you can do. So it's totally up to you as a programmer to decide that. And this is certainly, therefore, D is also not the right answer. So the right answer here is C. Okay. Let me check once if any of you have any questions posted on chat. No. Okay. Then I'll move on to the next one where, okay, let me also keep the chat window at the left part, which is makes it easy for me to just see when someone asks something. Okay. Right. So let's look at this, the other one. Have this so that the terminal is visible. Okay. Question number 5. Which of the following operators can be used to combine multiple conditions in an if statement? So obviously in an if statement, if you have multiple conditions, you need the logical operators, because the logical operators are operators on which Boolean logic apply, and therefore the condition that you have in a if statement is generally a Boolean condition on which you use logical operators. So this can be logical and or not. So all of these are the ones which are allowed in this condition thing. So by condition, what I mean is, if you go back to the previous statement, this is the part I'm highlighting it. So this is where you'll have this or and other stuffs going on. So all of the above is the right answer in here, right? So now the next question is compute the printed value of I of the following C code given below. Okay, so we will first look at what this code gives us, and then I'll explain why you are getting what we are getting, basically. Okay, so I have a sample C code which I will modify to have this thing. So int I equals 2, right? And then I have I equals I plus plus. And then after this, I have there's this printfs %d I, right? So I'll just save this program and let me just run it, right? Okay, so as you can see, we have the value of 2 in here. I hope this is all right. I will make my font a little bit larger so that it is easier for you all to see, right? I hope this is a bit better in terms of seeing what I'm writing. Okay, so you see the value which I get is 2 in here. So the correct answer is 2. So let's now discuss why this is so, right? So for that, I'll just open up my screen where I was writing stuff. So we start with, say, let's see, I equals to 2 and I equals to I plus plus, right? So let's see. Let me scroll this. So we have I equals to 2, and then you have I equals to I plus plus, right? So if you look at operator precedence, you'll know that I plus plus has a greater operator precedence compared to assignment, right? The assignment has lower operator precedence compared to I plus plus. So that this is the operator that is going to get evaluated first. So how do you know that? As I shared previously as well. So there is this operator precedence which you must follow. So this is the place where you can look out. This was also discussed quite uh, comprehensively in previous week as well. So I'll also post once again in the chat so that it's easier for you to look up. And this is basically the operator precedence. So operator precedence determines that if you have multiple operators, then when and what operator will be carried out. So right, so if you have this assignment operator, you'll see that, let me search where I have the assignment one. And yes, you see assignment operator. This assignment operator is an operator which has a precedence of 14. So this is the rank. So the one which has a smaller value is the highest rank. So that operator has to be evaluated first. So you see this assignment is evaluated later, and while like these postfix increment and decrement operator and prefix, these things like plus plus and minus minus has a rank of 1. So this has to be evaluated much before the other, right? So therefore, when you have I equals to I plus plus, as you see in here, let me go back to where I was writing. Yes, this is my writing pad. So if you see I equals to I equals to 2 and I equals to I plus plus, then this part, I plus plus, which is an increment operator, has to be evaluated first before assigning it to equals, right? But you see, this is a post increment. So what this would mean is that this plus plus is going to update I to I plus 1, which is I is now 2. So 2 plus 1. And so this is going to get updated to 3, right? But the point here is that this is postfix. So first it will use the value of whatever I was before, and that will be assigned to I again, and then the value is going to change, right? So then what would mean is that the one that will be used for the assignment thing is going to get first used and then changed, right? So the value of I remains 2, and that is going to get assigned to I again. So the value of I is unchanged, and what you have is 2 at the end, right? Although you have later on change it to 3, but that is not going to get reflected because it is postfix. So that is what is happening in here. So I will also give you an alternative example where you do I equals to plus plus I, and in this case you most likely see that I is going to get 3. So we'll test this. So for testing this, I'll go back to VS Code where I was. Okay, let's see. Let me go back in here and so you saw that this is 2, as you can see in here. But now let me go back to VS Code and I'll change this to then increment before. I'll change this to increment before from increment after. I'll save my code and let me run this. And you see, fair enough, I equals to 3 now. So previously it was 2, and now when I've run the code, you see the value that I get is 3, right? And this is because before being applied and assigned to I, the value of I gets changed. While in the previous case, the value of I was assigned and then it got changed. Okay, so the right answer is 2. So I hope this is clear to you. If this is not, then this is the time that you can ask me, and then I can try to then discuss this more. Are there any questions at this point? Okay. Then let me go to question 7, where it is said that if multiple if conditions are used in a single if statement, then the testing is done in the conditions that are done from left to right. So that is how it happens. This is kind of very similar to what is called associativity, which determines in which direction the operations are going to be carried out. And for the case of if statement, as the thing, if you have multiple conditions, then it goes from testing out from left to right on what are the conditions, right? So the correct answer is B, from left to right. Okay, so let's see what is the purpose of the given program given n is the input given by the user. So let's check. Let's write this program and then we can see what's happening. I'll discuss actually. So I have int n, x equals 0, and then you have y, right? And then you have print f, enter an integer, right? And then after this, you have a scanf. In n, we are going to take this n, and then while n not equals to 0, we have this code, and we, oops, what we do in here is we change this to x times x minus y, right? So this is what is happening in here. And then you have a n by 10. So now let's print this, print f, and let me do output is equals percentage t, and I'll just give a new line. It just feels better in terms of the code, but it's up to you to decide. Okay, so this is done. I'll just save this, clear my terminal for now, save my code, and let me run it now. Yes, so enter an integer, right? So let's choose any random integer that I can think of. Let's say 127, and I'm hitting enter. So what you see is the output is minus 10. So what is this output minus 10? If you look at it closely, you see that it's nothing but the sum of the digits, but with a negative sign, as you can see in here. Let's try another one. Let's clear the screen and try once again. And let's try some other value, say 3, 4a, something like this, and hit enter. So you have a minus 15. So fair enough. Again, you see that your digits are getting added, but with a minus sign. Okay. So now let's figure. So as you can see, the right answer, you can get it right away, the negative sum of the digits of a number. But let's see why this is happening. And for that, what I'll do is I'll take the help of the debugger in here, so that we will step through the code and I can show you what exactly is happening. So let me set a breakpoint in here and debug the code. Okay. Right. So as you can see in here, right away, I'm in line 4 of the code. Let me make this larger so that it's easy for you to see. So I'm in line 4 of the code, as you can see in here. And the variables are now getting created. So 0, 0, 0. All the variables are getting created. So I'm just now stepping and going to the next line. This is just the print statement. So now it asks for me to enter a number, right? So let me put in the number. Let's say I put in 5, 4, 2, something like this, right? And hit enter. So this gets assigned to n. As you can see in here now, the value of n is 542. Here you can see it, right? So let me go to the next step where I'm going to this while, and while n not equals to 0, so 542 is not equals to 0. So we went from line number 7 to line number 8 because this is true, right? Because 542 is not equals to 0. Now we are coming in here where n modulo 10. So n is divided by 10, and the modulus of this operation is stored in y. So when you divide 542 by 10, the modulus of this would going to give you 2. So y is being assigned the value of 2. So as you can see, if when I'm running this, when I've run this line, which is line 8, you got a value of 2 in here, right? So now let me go in here do this where you see x minus y. So what's happening in here is whatever the value of x was, so which is 0, to that, from that you subtract the value of y, which is 2. So what you have at the end is 0 minus 2. So this is minus 2. So the value of x gets updated from 0 to minus 2. And as you can see in here, it was 0. Now it has changed to minus 2, right? So now it's n by n divide equals to 10. So what this means is you divide n by 10 and you assign that to n. So when you divide 542 by 10, what you get is 54.2, right? But now, as you know, that n is an integer, so 0.2 will be dropped, and what you have at the end is just 54. So that is take a look at what n is now, 542, and now I'm going to run this line number 10, and then you'll see that it is changing. So now see, it has changed to 54, and this is the end of the while loop. So we go back to line 7, where the condition of the while loop is again tested. So you have 54. So obviously 54 is not equals to 0. So then this is true. Once again, you go in, you again do the modulus operation. So now the value of y will be 4. As you can see now, previously the value of y was 2. But as you run this line, you have the value of y, which is changing to 4. So now you will have x minus y. So previously x was minus 2. And from there, you take away another minus 4, which is the next digit in here in 542. So the next digit is minus 4. So you have minus 2 minus of 4. So right. So what you have at the end is you subtract then the second digit from. So starting, so what you did is you started with 0, you subtracted the last digit, and then you subtracted the second last digit. So you are basically adding all the digit, but with a negative sign overall. Okay, so now you see it's 6 because earlier it was 2 and now it was 4. So minus 4 minus 2. So you get a minus 6 in here, right? And now you have an n divided equals to 10. So again, you divide by 10. So what you are left with is 5. And then you test the while condition. You are still not 0. So you go in for the last digit. You do the same procedure, modulus, and that gives you y equals to 5. From 4, it has now changed to 5. And then you subtract this from the previous value of x, which is minus 6. So you'll have at the end, it's minus 11. And then again, you divide 5 by 10. So which is like 0.5. But since this is, as I was saying, this is n is an integer, you will have only 0 in here. So you go back, and now the while condition becomes false because now it is equals to 0. And so you go in and go out of the while loop and to line straight away to line number 12, where you just display the result. And you see that the result here is displayed where output is minus 11. And then your main function returns. And that is the end of the code. I'll stop the debugger in here. And this is it. And I hope the logic is clear. I took some time in discussing this. And if you still have any problems and any doubts, please feel free to ask. Let me also check the chat once again in case someone asks something on the chat. No. Okay. So now let me then go to question number 9, where it is asked to find out the value of the expression of a equals to 5, b equals to 7, and c equals to 111. And just like before, what I'll do here is I'll again just write this code, and then we will discuss what's happening. So let me type this. So I will have a equals 5, b equals 7, and c is 111, right? So now c slash equals plus plus a times b minus minus, and we have this. Now print f. So I'm printing a, b, and c. So let's do this. I'm saving this code. Let me clear my terminal and let me run this. So as you can see, a is 6, b is 6, and c is 2. So a is 6, b is 6, and c is 2. The correct answer is c. So let's discuss now why this is the correct answer. Again, there is an operator precedence that you need to take care of. As you have seen that plus plus and minus minus, these are like rank 1 in operator precedence. So these will be first done, and then later on the rank 2 one, which is the rank 3 one basically, which is multiplication and division. These will be carried out. So, and then at the end, you will have a slash equals, which is much later. You see slash equals, which has a rank of 14, multiplication assignment and division assignment, which will be then carried out. So the first one to do is b minus minus. Okay, so let me write this down. A equals 5, b equals 7, c equals 1, 1, 1. Right? So C divide equals plus A times B minus minus. Okay. So now let me open up my notepad here. You see, I'm starting with a value. So these are the operators. As you see, I'm highlighting in here, these and these. These are the two operators which has the highest preference. So these are the ones which are going to first be evaluated, right? So let's see. Plus plus A. So what plus plus A would mean that the value of A will be first incremented and then applied in here. So the value of A was 5, so increment this to 6, right? And then you apply in here. So that this part evaluates to 6. And then times the value of B minus minus. So what this would mean is that the value of, and obviously the value of A gets updated to 6, right? Because we have done a plus plus A. Similarly, B minus minus, what this would mean is that the value of B that will be used in here will be the previous value of B. So what you will use is 7, but obviously the value of B is going to change from whatever it was 7. So now it gets changed to 6, right? So you have a 6 times 7. And this is C divide equals to this, right? So divide equals to has a lesser precedence. We saw its rank is 14, but this rank is much higher. So you first do this. So you have something like this, 42. So what this would mean is that C divide equals 42, right? So then what this means is the division assignment operator. So you divide what C was before, 111, you divide it by 42, and then the new value of C gets assigned here. So if you divide 111 by 42, what you will have is 2 point some decimal quantities. But since this is an integer, you'll neglect that. So what you have at the end is C equals to 2, right? And now if you go in here, let's see. The value of C, we got the value C to be 2, as you can see in here and also in the MCQ. So the values that got updated were, as you can see, we started with 5, 7, and 111, but at the end, we ended up at A equals to 6, B equals to 6, and C equals to 2. And this is kind of the logic that why we are getting that, right? So this was like a tricky question based on postfix and prefix operators, plus plus and minus minus. And if you have any doubt right now, please ask. Okay, I guess there's no doubt in this. So let me then proceed to the final question of the MCQ. What will be the output of the following program? So you have this code, but again, I'll just write this code and then we will discuss, right? So let's do that. So you have an int x equals 1, right? And then we have a switch case statement. So we do a switch x, and let's have this. Let's have a case 1 and case 2. So let's see. Let's change this to choice. Choice is 1, and let's change this to choice other than 1, right? So as you can see in this switch case statement, there is a default statement and there is a case 1 statement, but there are no break statements. So for now, I will just comment this two out. So then you have a code where you have a switch X is 1, but you do not have any break statement. So let me now run this code. As you can see here, the output is choice is 1 and choice other than 1. Both are getting printed in here. So the right answer here is both A and B because both are getting printed. But if you know this is not the behavior which you would ideally want in a switch case statement, and the reason that you are getting both case 1 and default, both getting evaluated is because you do not have the break. So in switch case, it is almost customary for people using switch case statements to produce to have a break command at the end of every case and after the end of default as well. So when I supply these break things, as you can see in here, save the code and let me compile and run it again, then you'll see that only the first case 1 is going to get printed. So let me run the code. And as you can see, only choice is 1 is getting printed and not the next one. So, but for the sake of this specific code itself, since it are lacking the break statement, both case 1 and default will be executed, and you'll have both A and B as the right option in here. And I hope this is clear to you. Okay, I now see your question in here. So, which is the question that you are asking? Is it question number 9 or question number 10 or question number 9, which you want me to explain? I will be happy to explain it again. Can you please say, is it question number 10, the last question on switch case, or it's the previous question that on postfix and prefix that you want me to discuss? Then I'll discuss that once again. Are you there? Okay. I don't get any response from you. So yeah, I don't know. I just assume that it is the last question that you are asking. So I'll just, because it's like you posted this question 3 minutes ago. So I think it's the last question that you were talking about, the question number 10 on switch case. Then let me discuss this once again. So as you can see in here, if you look at it closely, you see that there is a switch X and there is a case 1 and there is a default in here. But if you look at the code which I have on the left, there are additional break statements in here after every cases. And if you do not have the break statement, what happens is that after case 1 is executed, the code goes to case 2 before and doesn't come out of the switch case. But with the break statement, the code comes out of the entire switch condition, which is what you see in here as in these braces. Right. So this is what is happening. And therefore, because your code is code which is given in here, the code snippet in question number 10, it lacks this break statement. You do not have, you have both the things which are getting printed. So the choice is 1 and choice other than 1. Both of these are getting printed. So your correct answer is both A and B. But and this is actually not ideally what would want or you would want. And it is almost customary that whenever you have switch command used in the code, you'll always have a break statement after every case and even after the default one, so that you come out of the switch condition as soon as your one of the cases is getting satisfied. So this is what is happening. Okay, so I think now you can understand. Is this clear? Like I have re-explained question number 10. So is this clear what is happening in here? Let me also, in the meanwhile, show you what's going on by clearing my screen. And when I run this code, let's run this code. You see that what is getting executed is choice is 1. because I have the break statement. So the first code goes in here, it matches the case and therefore executes this and comes out of the switch statement once it encounters break. But when I get rid of the break thing, so the way I'll do this, I'll just comment this out. So I do not have the break statements, right? So now what's happening is when I run the code, you see that both the things, choices one and choice other than one, both are getting printed because after case one is satisfied, the code remains there and comes to the default and also executes this thing. Is this clear? Okay, okay, great, great. Right. By the way, I can also just show you with the debugger. Oops. I can also show with the debugger like what's going on in here, and this will also be helpful to you to illustrate this point. Let me do that as well since I already have this. So I'll just put a break statement in here and debug my code. So let's see. Yep. So my code has started and it is now in line 4 and the value of x is 0 because line 4 is not executed. As I execute line 4, you see the value of x gets changed to 1. Now switch, I go into the switch statement and as case 1 is satisfied, I go in here and you see the choices 1 is getting printed. And now I'm in the break statement, like, and what this does is gets you out of the switch. So you get out and you return 0. So, and you come out of the code and hence your choice is 1. This is the right thing. So now let me run this code once again by commenting the break statement as I was doing. Let me save this. So this is saved. And let me debug this file once again. Let's wait for the debugger to spin up. And yes. So your x is now 1, sorry, 0. As you can see here, the value of x is 0. I go to the next point, and now you see the value of x is getting changed to 1. I come in here, I print this. So then I directly go to default because I do not encounter the break statement. And hence choices 1 is now printed, and now this is again going to get executed, and choice other than 1 is also getting printed. And now I just come out of the switch case. And at the end, this is the end of the code. So you have both of these options getting printed in here. Okay, so I think this was a good demonstration of how things are happening under the hood in the code itself. Okay, so now this is the end of all the multiple choice questions. And so if you had any doubt regarding any of the questions, then you can ask. Otherwise, I'll just wait for a minute or so and then straight away move on to programming assignments, which will be a bit more comprehensive. Okay, then let's go to the programming assignment here for week 4. Let's start with week 4 programming assignment 1. Let this load up. Okay, so write a C program to find the smallest among the 3 numbers using nested if-else statement, right? So we will do this. So let me then get rid of this and we will just put in 3 numbers and from there we will get the thing. So we'll do an int n1, n2, and n3, right? And these are the 3 numbers that we are going to have. And we will take these numbers from the user. So in the print f, enter 3 numbers. So these are the 3 numbers which I will be taking. And you see that the test case are all integers. So for now, I'll just take integer numbers, but you can also do this for float, team point numbers as well. So it's up to you what you do. Okay. So now let's take this in with a scanf. And so I am taking the 3 numbers, n1, n2, and n3. And now we are going to see which one is the largest. So sorry, which one is the smallest out of these 3. So if n1 is less than n2, then we are going in here and opening up a loop, right? So what this would mean is that if n1 is less than n2, then we know that out of n1 and n2, n1 is the smallest out of the 2. But we haven't tested it with n3. So now we will test it against N3, and we will say that if N1 is also less than N3, then we will know that N1 is the smallest. However, if N1 is not less than N3, then we will know N3 is the smallest, because we have already tested that N1 is less than N2. So this is what I'm doing in here. So you see that if N1 is less than N2, so we'll know that out of N1 and N2, N1 is small. Then we test it with N3, that if N1 is less than N3, then we will know that it was already smaller than N2. It is also smaller than N3 as well. So N1 is the smallest number, which we are doing in here. And else you will have N3 as the smallest number, right? And else in the else statement, what you will have is the other way around, where you just do the thing where you know that if N1 is if N1 is not, let's go in here. You see what this was is N1 is less than N2. So now what is happening in here is now N1 is greater than N2 in here, right? Because it's the else statement. So then you know that it is the N2 which is the smaller. So now you need to compare why N2 is the N2 smaller than N3 as well. Then you know that N2 is the smallest number, otherwise it's N3. So that's exactly what is done in here, right? And this kind of ends your else statement in here. So this is kind of an example of a nested else. Okay, so let's see, if N1 is less than N2, then you go in here and then you say if N1 is less than else N3. So you then print N1 is the smallest, else your N3 is the smallest, else you come in here and you say that if N2 is less than N3, because you have already, with the first if else, you have already established that out of N1 and N2, if you're in the else statement, you will know that the smallest smaller number is N2. So now you have to test whether this is smaller than N3 or not. So you have an N2 less than N3. Then you print that N2 is the smallest number, else you print N3 is the smallest number, right? And this, let's see, else, I'm just ensuring the brackets are followed nicely. Yes, so it's always like nice if you follow the bracket convention, then this becomes easy for you, and rest of the code, we don't need it, right? Done. So this is the part of the code. And now let's save this and run the code. Okay, so let's see, there seems to be an error which expected else before this. So let's see where the error is in here. Okay, okay. I think I have one more bracket to give, which I have forgotten to align. So let's put this one more bracket. Yes. So now everything matches fine. So this bracket, so I had a bracket which was not closing out. Okay. So let me now run the code once again. Yeah. So let me clear the terminal so that it's easier for all of you to see. And let me run the code. Okay. So you see it asks for entering 3 numbers. So now we will use the test cases. So let's do that. It's 90 minus 9 and 80 minus 80. So we'll do 90, oops, minus 9 and minus 80. So you see minus 80 is the smallest. So that's how it works. So we'll do this once again. Clear the screen, run this again. So you'll have 100, 200 and 0. 0 is the smallest. I'll try the other 2 cases as well. 80, 40, 90, 80, 40, 90. So you should have 40, and fair enough, you have that. Last one, 77, 88 minus 99. So you minus 99 is the one. So minus 99 is the smallest number. So this is it. So all the test cases are working. So I guess this was clear to you. If not, then please ask. First question. So do you mean by first question of the MCQ? Do you mean the first question of the MCQ? Please, if so, then please confirm. Okay, okay. Let me then go back to the MCQ and yes. So the purpose of the if-else statement in C. So as you were saying, seeing that the entire demonstration of today's session is about the if-else statement, and as you can see that if-else statement allows you to execute different parts of the code depending upon the condition that you provide is true or false, right? So this is kind of the thing. So if you look at this option number C, this is the right statement for how an if-else statement is. So you have a if, and within parentheses you have a condition, and depending upon whether the condition is true or false, you have either statement 1, which is getting executed, or statement 2. So that's why this question that says that to test a condition and execute different parts of the code depending on the results. So the different parts of the code will be statement 1 or statement 2. And the condition is this condition that you see in here. Therefore, the right answer is also option number C in here, to test a condition and execute different parts of the code based on the result of the condition that you have. I hope this is clear to you, right? That's it. Okay, okay, great. Great. So then let me go back to programming assignment 2. And here I'm going to clear everything. And have what I had before. So let's see what is the question in here. So the question is the length of 3 sides of a triangle you take, and you see write a C code to find whether a triangle is possible or not. If not, display the triangle is not possible. If the triangle can be formed, then check whether the triangle is formed is an equilateral, isosceles, scalene, or right angle triangle. If it is a right angle triangle, then only right angle triangle. Do not print the scalene triangle thing, right? So this is a bit more complicated program, so we'll try to write this. So let's first check the sides of the triangle, right? So they have float. So let's see what are the test cases in here. So in test cases, you see that they just take in integer values. So I'll just stick to integers, but you can also use float as well. Int side 1, side 2, and side 3. So these are the 3 sides of the triangle that we have. And then printf enter 3 sides of the triangle, and then we taking the 3 sides, right? Side 1, side 2, and side 3. So now let's see. Now let's go back and see what has been asked for us to do. So the thing that has been asked is whether to test if the triangle is possible or not. So let's do the first condition then. If side 1 plus side 2 is greater than or equals to greater than side 3, then so the idea here is that a triangle is possible whenever the sum of any 2 sides has to be greater than the third side. So first you choose side 1 and side 2, and that has to be greater than side 3. So you take all the possible combinations of 3 sides. So you have 3 combinations to consider. So you say side 1 plus side 2, and this has to be greater than side 3. Then you have side 2 plus side 3, which has to be greater than side 1, and then you have side 3 plus side 1, which has to be greater than side 2. So exactly that is what has been done here. And then you have the triangle is valid, otherwise the triangle is not valid. I think the output of these were different. It asks for something like triangle is not possible, something like this. So let's say the triangle is not possible, right? But we don't have this printf statement. We have additional conditions to look for. So what are these additional conditions? So we have to check whether the triangle is equilateral, isosceles, or scalene, or a right angle. So let's do that. If equilateral would mean side 1, side 2, and side 3 all has to be equal, right? So if side 1 equals to side 2 and side 2 equals to side 3, right? Then you'll know that this is an equilateral triangle. So side 1 equals to side 2 and side 2 is equals to side 3 automatically implies that side 1 equals to side 3. So you do not need the other condition. You can obviously put that in, but you do not need that, right? Then the triangle is equilateral. But for isosceles triangle, you have need to have only two of the sides which are equal, right? So then you will have something like side 1 equals to side 2, or side 2 equals to side 3, and side 1 equals to side 3, right? So when you have this, then you'll say that it is isosceles, right? Uh, it is an or. So if either of the two is satisfied, then like if any one of the two, like either 1 is equals to 2, or 2 equals to 3, or 1 equals to 3. So again, there are three conditions that you need to test, and there is an or has to be in here, unlike and, which was before. And I hope this is kind of self-explanatory of why we are using or and in here. If not, then please ask me at some point, right? So, and if none of these, if the triangle is not equilateral, so none of then that would mean that the three sides are not equal. Then even if the two sides are also not equal, it's not isosceles, then that would mean that the three sides are unequal. And when the three sides are unequal, the triangle is a scalene triangle, right? But in the let's go to the else statement in here, and let's see what more additional thing that is required for us to do is that when it's a scalene triangle, if it is a right angle triangle, then the thing is, we are asked to just say that the triangle is a right angle triangle and not say that it's a scalene triangle, right? So that needs to be tested, whether it's a right angle triangle or not. And if it is a right angle triangle, then we just say that it's a right angle triangle, and we're not be saying that's a scalene triangle, right? So that is what we will be doing next, and that we are going to have an else statement in here, and now we are going to nest it. So let's nest the else thing in here. And right. No, this is sorry, triangle is not possible. So we are nesting the wrong thing. So here, please. So we are going to nest this. Right. Okay. So there is a bracket which is missing in here. Right. But as the question says that we will not be printing its scalene triangle. So we then have another if statement in that, like a nested if. So if S is now, what is the definition of an like a right angle triangle? The definition is that the sum of the squares of the two sides must be equal to the square of the third side. So then again, we have three combinations that we want to test. And this is what it is. So you have side 1 times side 1 plus side 2 times side 2 must be equal to side 3 times side 3. Either this, or you have side 2 plus times side 2 plus side 3 times side 3, that must be equal to side 1 times side 1. So we are just choosing two sides at a time and adding the squares of that, and then checking with the square of the other side, right? If this is satisfied, then we just say that the triangle is right angle triangle. Otherwise, we just say that the triangle is a scalene triangle, and else the triangle is not possible, right? So this is the code for this. So let me save the code. Now, let me make this a bit larger for you to follow, and let me run the code, right? So enter the three sides of the triangle. So now what I'll be doing is I'll be just using the test cases in here. So 10, 4, and 6. So let's 10, 4, and 6 put in here, and you see the triangle is not possible. It's fair enough. We match it. Let's run this code once again. Three sides of the triangle. So you have 7, 6, and 8. Just the triangle is scalene. Again, we have the right result in here. We then clear the screen. You have 9, 9, 9. So this, all the three sides are equal in here. So this must give you an equilateral triangle, and the triangle is equilateral. So we have the right result. And the last one, 5, 12, 13, right? So the triangle is right angled, as you can see in here. So we are matching all the four test cases. So this is kind of the right thing that we are getting. So this was a bit of a longer code, and fairly complicated as well. So if you have any doubt, please feel free to ask. I would be happy to answer that. So there are, like, just to summarize, since this is, as I was saying, this is a longish type of code, I also want to summarize in here. So we started with the if statement, just checking if the triangle is possible or not. If the triangle is not possible, we went into a nested if, right? And in that, if the triangle is possible, we went into the next nested if. If it was impossible, we just say that the triangle is not possible and get to the end of the code. But if it is not, then we go to this nested if thing, right? And in that nested if, we check for different kinds of triangles. We check if in the code whether the triangle has all the sides equal, then we have equilateral. We check else if the triangle has only two sides equal, then it's isosceles, and if not, then it's scalene. But we take two different types of scalene triangles. One is we check if the three sides form a Pythagorean triplet. So by Pythagorean triplet, I mean that the square of the sum, the sum of the squares of any two sides must be equal to the square of the third side. So then that is what has been checking. I've been checking that if these three numbers that you will have in here forms a Pythagorean triplet or not. If it does form a Pythagorean triplet, then we know that it's a right angle triangle, and if not, we just say that it's a scalene triangle. And after we have done this, the code comes out, and this returns 0, which is the default return for main. So please feel free to ask anything if you have any doubt, or else I'll just go to the next assignment. Okay, then let me proceed to the second last one, the programming assignment 3. And let me also get rid of all this code. Right. So now what is this code? This write a program to find the factorial of a number using while loop. So we want to use the while loop, and with that, we want to find out the factorial of a number, right? So let's do that. So let me have int num. So this is the number that we are going to take in from the user, and factorial is what we are going to calculate, right? So now printf, enter a number. So this is the num that we are going to take, and we do a while, and we will go when num is greater than 0. So we'll just continue. So the way the factorial works, it's you start with the number and you keep on multiplying all the numbers till that number decreasing. Like, so what I mean by that is, say you want to find out the factorial of 5. So you start with 5. I think, let me clear the terminal. You can see what I'm typing in here. You start with 5, right? And then you decrease by 1. So you then do 4, and then you decrease by another 1. So you have a 3, and then you decrease by 1, you have 2, and then you decrease by 1, you have 1. So you do this till you hit 1. And as soon as you hit 1, you come out and you say that, okay, let me also just initialize this factorial. And as soon as you come out, you say that this should not be this, but this should get comma. Right. So now, as soon as you come out, you say that this is, I mean, you do this till 1, and as soon as you hit 1, you just come out of this loop and you just print the result. So this, for this specific case, it should be like 3 times 2 is 6, and 5 times 4 is 20. So it's going to give you 120, right? So in this specific case, you have this, and you then return 0. So let's now print the thing. Print factorial is factorial, right? So let me save this and run the code. So enter a number, right? So let's now make this a bit larger for you guys to see it properly, and let's do this. So the factorial of 11. So let me do an 11, and you have a 399,168,00. So you see we match this, right? So there, now let's move on to the next test case. We have 7. Sorry, I given 4. My bad. 7. It's 5040. So we get 5040. Now let's try 5. 120. So the factorial is 120. Right. Let's try the last one. And 3628800. 3628800. Okay. So great. So we match everything. So this is we are passing all the test cases. So this code is right. And if you still have any doubt, please let me know. You can also go the other way around. Like as I was saying, that if you want to find the factorial of 5, you start with 1 times 2 times 3 times 4 times 5. So you go till 5. So either you do this, or you do 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1. You will get the same thing. It doesn't matter because, as you know, multiplication is kind of doesn't depend on whether you multiply it from left or multiply it from right. So it's up to you how you write it. In this factorial, for me, in this specific case, I have chosen to start from 5 and go till 1, but you can also choose to start from 1 and go till 5. It's up to you. Okay, so now let me then go to the last one. And before I start this, if you have any questions, then again, you are welcome to ask. Okay. I will also check my chat in case someone has posted any questions in here. Okay. The factorial of a number. Sure, I will be happy to explain this once again. Then I think the best way to answer this in more detailed way is that I'll show you with the debugger, and we will step through the code with some specific value, and we'll see how this is happening. And I think that will be much give you a much clearer picture of what is going on. So let me debug this code then. Put in a breakpoint in here. Right. Okay. So as you see, we are at line number 4. As you can see with this yellow thing, this is where our code right now is standing, and we will now step through. So let's go to the next line. And now you see the value of factorial has been kept to the default value of 1, and it's this prints the statement. So let me do this. And now with scanf, now we are at a position where we can put in a number. So as I was using the example of 5, I'll just try 5 and hit enter. Okay, so you see that the value of num has now changed to 5. I hope you can see my cursor here. You can see that value of num has changed to 5. So now we are in the while loop, which is line number 7. So num greater than 0. So 5 is obviously greater than 0. This is true. So you get in here and you do factorial multiply equals to num. So this is nothing but the multiplicative assignment operator. So what this does is multiplies factorial with whatever value of factorial was before. So now you see that before you started with the factorial of 1. So 1 has to be multiplied with 5 because the value of num is 5. So 1 times 5 is 5, right? So you do a 5. Okay. So now you see that the value of factorial has changed from 1 to 5. Because 1 times 5 and that gets assigned to factorial. And now you are at num. So the num is now going to was 5. Now it is going to get decreased. So what value it will get decreased to? It will get decreased to a value of 1 less than 5. So which is 4. So now you see it was 5. So now it got to 4. And we again go back to the testing of condition for the while loop. Num is greater than 0. So 4 is greater than 0. So this is true. We go again. And now factorial multiplied equals to num. So factorial, as you see, it was 5 before. So 5 times 4. So num is now 4. So 5 times 4 is 20. And then that is going to get assigned to factorial. So once we are going to evaluate this. So remember, factorial was 5. So now what I'm going to do is run this line number 8. And with this, you see that this is getting updated to the value of 20. right? And now I'm going to decrease num again. So from 4, it will go decrease to 3. So now you see it's 3, so 3 is greater than 0. I come again, and here again, now 20 is the value. Now 20 is now going to get multiplied by num, which has now reduced to the value of 3. So 20 times 3, which is 60. So you see now the now 20 now got updated to 60, right? And the num is now again going to get decreased by 1 more. So it is now changing to 2, coming back. You have again 2 greater than 0, which is true. And then now again factorial, which is 60. So now it's 60 times 20, and then again getting reassigned to factorial. So it's 120, and the value of factorial now changes to 120. So num is now getting changed to 1. So 1 is greater than 0. So this is again true. And now factorial times multiplied equals to num. So now you see that the value of factorial is multiplied by num. So you have num is 1. So 120 times 1 is 120. And this remains the same. So now the value of num is 1. So num is now decreased by 1. So num will get changed to 0. So now is 0 is greater than 0. So no, this is not true because 0 is equals to 0. So now once the while condition is not true, you go out, and then now you just print the factorial, which is just the product of all the numbers till 5 from starting from 1. And this is what is getting printed. So you see it's 120, and you come out. So this is basically the code of how this is working. So is this clear? Which extension you are using for debugging? So okay, so I am using clang for debugging this, but you can also use GDB for debugging as well. But I mean, it is up to you what you want to use, and I can share. Like, can you, if you share your email ID, then I will share uh, some links to how you can set the debugger up in C. So Aryan, I hope I'm pronouncing your name right. You can share your email ID, then I'll share with you the link with which you can use the debugger. You can also search for setting up debugger in VS Code for C. Let's see, debugging in Visual Studio Code. So this is kind of the right article which you can read. I will just also share the link with you in here. So if you follow this link, I'm sharing this to you in chat. If you follow this link, then you will have see the necessary things that you need to set it up. So for me, I'm using clang for debugging, but you can use anything basically that works for you. Okay. So with that said, let's see if any of you have any other questions. No. Okay. So then I'll just straight away jump to my final assignment, coding assignment, which is assignment 4 for week 4, which is write a program to find the sum of all the even numbers up to from 1 to n, which is the value of n is taken as an input. So you take the value of n and you just add up all the even numbers till n, right? And there are a few test cases that it just asks us to do. So let's then do that. Get rid of all the code and let's take num as input. Print f enter a number. Right. So now I'm going to take a number and I'm just going to take the num, right? This is taking num from the user. Now I'm doing a for loop. So for int less than num I plus plus. So this is now going to print all the values starting from values starting from 1, right? So this is now going to be then 1, and I'll go till I less than or equals to num and I plus plus. And obviously I will not have a hello world in here, but rather I'll have if condition. So if num modulus 2 equals to 0, then that would mean that the value which is kind of a even. So even numbers are the one, by definition, the even numbers are ones which are divisible by 2. So if num equals to 0, then things are even. And then we will have the one where I will just print it. So so we'll have sum plus equals to num, but sum is obviously not defined. So I'll just define sum in here, right? And I'll start with a value of 0. So sum starts with a value of 0. And here in this if statement, I just add sum when it is an even number, right? So at the end of this for loop, I'll just print that the sum of all the even numbers from 1 to num is sum, right? And so sum of all even numbers from 1 to d is this. Okay, sorry, I just forgot to make my screen large. So if you were not able to follow it, please have a look right now. In line number 4, I just declare the values, and then I just take a number from the user. I start from 1 and go till the number, increasing every time by 1 in a for loop. And inside this for loop, I check if that number, not num, but I check if I is modulus of I modulus 2, modulo 2 is equals to 0. That would mean that I is an even number, right? I is even, but this would mean, and if I is even, then I just add not num, but I, right? The value of I is what I'm going to add in here. And then I print that the sum of all even numbers from 1 to d is sum, and d is num. So all even numbers from 1 to num, from this percentage d will be replaced by num. So all even numbers from 1 to num is sum, right? So let me save this and run this code, right? So let me now make this a bit larger, enter a number. So now I'll be trying the test cases in here. So first is 25. So let me do that. And sum of all even numbers from 1 to 25 is 156. So we get 156. Let me do that once again. Enter a number. So it's 30. I get 240. Let me clear my screen just to make things clear. Then 10. I do that. Sum of all even numbers from 1 to 10 is 30. So yeah, 30. Right. And the last one, I put in 15. I say sum of all even numbers from 1 to 15 is 56. And that is what you see I'm getting in here. So I'm satisfying all the test cases. So this was, I think, a bit easier compared to what it was before. And now if you have any questions regarding this, please feel free to ask me. If you also want me to walk you through with the debugger, like every lines of the code, then I'll also be happy to do so. Please ask. Okay, so since there are no more questions, and then I will end my chat in here. I'll stop sharing my screen, and if you have any other questions from any of the previous week, this is also the time when you can ask. Otherwise, you can also drop me an email at any point of time, and I will try my best to reply it at the earliest. This is my email ID once again. And on that note, if there are no further questions from anyone, then I will end the meeting in here. I hope you had a wonderful session learning about C, and all the best writing codes, and have a nice weekend.